Hi, this is Deborah Wallace, and this is my video tutorial on navigating the basic features of Qualtrics. You'll notice that I'm on the front page of the University of Akron's website. I'm on this page because in order to gain access to the Qualtrics application here at the university, you must go through the same process you would go through to access your My Akron account. The other thing to note is that in order to gain access to the Qualtrics online survey application, you must be granted that access. So here at the university, we have one site administrator that is in charge of managing the Qualtrics online survey application, and his name is Anthony Serpetti. So I'll provide his contact information a little later on into the video. But first, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go in and log on to Qualtrics. So you'll notice the front page of Qualtrics flashed briefly, and then it changed over to the page that houses all of my projects. So at the very top of the screen, you'll see that the panel here, the dashboard panel, is titled My Projects. So we are actually on the page where all of my surveys that are active are present for you to see. On this dashboard, you'll notice that there are other tabs here that take you to other parts of Qualtrics in terms of managing the surveys that are active. As I stated before, my projects and projects are here. The projects tab brings us right back to the page that we're currently on. So you see what projects are active, you see what projects would be inactive. So all projects here have a status of active. If the projects were not active, this bar would be green and it would say inactive. In terms of the projects on this page, you'll notice a couple of things: that each project has an owner. If the owner is not myself, Deb Wallace, you see that the name of the owner is there. So for both this survey and this survey, the owner here is Mr. Anthony Serpetti. This survey, because there is no owner and because I created it, no owner is present. So my name is not mentioned or listed here. A couple of things to note: that owners can share the survey. So because Mr. Serpetti started the setup of this survey, he released access to me to actually make changes to the survey. Because I originated this survey, there is no name associated with this survey because it's under my account. The other thing I want to point out is that you'll notice that there are different numbers associated with responses to each of these surveys. This is a great tracker to see where you are when you send out your survey, what trends are following with the number of responses. I will note that when you see responses for each of your surveys, responses does not indicate survey completion. So anytime, and I'll just go into this survey, anytime we see, let's go to data analysis, we see the number of responses wait till that generate here. The number of responses recorded does not necessarily mean the number of responses recorded or surveys are complete. So you want to pay attention. The other thing to note is that you may have several responses that have been recorded, but as you can see, sometimes those recorded responses may not include any responses that are in progress. Responses that are in progress typically are responses of people who are starting the survey or have started the survey and have not completed the survey. So it's good to keep track of those numbers, because this can be a little misleading if you think, oh, these are the numbers of people who I've sent my survey out to, they've responded and they've completed my survey, but that's not the case, right? All right, so let's go back to my projects. This view reports button allows you to look at the data of your survey. So you can look at various reports and look at distributions, how your survey, how the responses of people throughout a 12-day period. So you can look at how many people are responding to your survey and pay attention to those trends. Data analysis allows for you to look at where people are falling in terms of how they answered your survey. So if you'll notice that Q1 is it's identifying if a person is either a graduate student or if they're a professor, and where their age range falls right here. So that allows you to see, again, just the breakdown of data. You can also here look again at the breakdown of data by looking at some of the reports. And I really like this area here because you can get a pictorial or a graph of what this looks like for each of your questions. So here you can add visualization in terms of how many people have filled out the survey, what percentage or what numbers of people who have filled out the survey are students or professors. You could do the same thing for either if a professor is an assistant or a full or associate professor. Some people will provide their email address, some people won't. This is a good indicator also for looking at, like I said, just visualizing some of the data that you have, which I like. And I think it provides the visual provides a little bit more color. It also, if you're a visual person, it gives you an idea in terms of your numbers distribution, which I think is pretty cool. I'm going to go back to my projects so we can talk a little bit more about context. So before we talk about context, I also want to talk about how you create a project, but we'll come back and we'll create our own project a little later. But this is where you would actually start putting your survey together, and we'll do that a little later on. So the next tab in the dashboard, the blue dashboard, are the contacts. Your contacts are essentially all of the participants, or your email contacts, or all contacts of the people who will be participating in your survey. And so it's really a management system here for you to modify, to create, and manage as you are thinking about how you're going to distribute your survey. So what you would do is, in order to create your contact list, you would put a name to this list. So you would hit next after you name that contact list. Then what you would do is you have the option of either importing or manually adding a contact list. If you import your file, you can import a file using any software that allows for you to create a table or file of names with contact information. One thing to note, that if you use Excel or whatever program that you use, that you must save that file as a CSV file, right? In order for this to work, you have to make sure you save the file as a CSV file and then import the file. Comma separated value is CSV. You can do this you can actually save your contact information in Excel to a CSV file and import that file. Now, if you decide that you do not want to save it as a CSV file and import a file, you want to manually add your contacts, you can do that as well. What you would need to do is you would need to fill out, every contact needs to have an email address. Now, the great thing about this is that you can actually add additional columns, and in adding those additional columns, you can add additional information for each contact. So if you wanted the email, the first, the last name, and you wanted to know the department, and you wanted to know the university, and you wanted to know the number of years that they taught, you could add that column and put number of years taught. If you wanted to know if they were, a supervisor or manager or director, you could add that information as well. But you do not have to add everything for each contact, but you must have an email address. All right. So let's go to the library tab. The library tab is an opportunity for you to sort of create a survey question data bank. And this library tab allows for you to download questions from your survey into the library. So you can download an entire survey, you can download parts of your survey, or just specific questions. So in order to do this, you would hit the copy to your library. And what happens is you see this box pops up and you're able to decide, actually, if you know that there are questions that you want to pull from a specific survey, you would go to that survey. And then you would decide if you want to either import the questions from the entire survey, import a block of questions, or just a specific question. Once you do that, you would import the survey question and save it. This would allow for you to pull these questions from your library if you decided to create a brand new survey. So in my case, because I created my own survey questions, information that I would use across all surveys would be demographic information. So demographic information would include age, race, marital status, educational attainment, if they were employed. Those are the things that I would use because they would be important to me to know, so I could categorize and group people together as I'm looking at other parts of my survey. Other people may decide that they want to either use questions that have been preset. So what I don't have access to in this particular area of the library are preset questions. If you followed my presentation on Prezi about online surveying, one of the things that Qualtrics is fantastic for is having preset questions that their clients can pull from. I do not have access to those preset questions, and it, for all intents and purposes, did not serve me to actually use those questions because of the area I was studying in. So I had to formulate my own questions so that those questions fit the area that I was concentrating on. All right. So let's move on to the help and feedback tab. This tab is really pretty straightforward. If you have any questions or concerns, or if you hit a place you get stuck in terms of one of the features, you can actually contact a Qualtrics expert or someone from the company to help navigate you through whatever issue it is that you're not able to get past using this application. The other great thing is that there are several tutorials if you visit the Qualtrics University website that you can actually utilize to get more familiar and become an expert with using Qualtrics. I love the Qualtrics University tutorial because I've looked at several videos over the past couple of years as I've used Qualtrics to get more familiar, more comfortable using this application. All right, so let's move on to the help and feedback. I'm actually going to go back to my projects page, but I'm going to go to the help and feedback. This is the profile icon, and as you can see, as I clicked on that profile icon, my name and my university affiliation, and the information of how much access I have in terms of setting up my Qualtrics account is listed. So I'm from the University of Akron. I have university-wide access in terms of setting up my survey. My account settings allow for me to change my password, my time zone, the language. You can see the subscription list I'm part of. under these settings too, it allows me to upgrade my account. As I stated earlier before, in order for me to actually gain access to Qualtrics, I needed to go through the site administrator, which is Anthony Zerpetti, and you see his name and information is right here. So if you do not have access to Qualtrics and you would like to gain access to Qualtrics, he is more than helpful in giving you access, but also helping you set up your online survey, which he's done for me twice now. And just a fantastic guy, all around fantastic guy. So this account usage allows for me to see my activity on Qualtrics. So you can see the number of total surveys allowed, the number of active surveys allowed, the responses that I've gotten, the latest responses that I've gotten, the number of outgoing emails that I've sent out as of recent. So I love this because it allows me to see, let me go back here and just modify this, right? You can see the last time I sent an email, let's see here. I'll go to November. So you see the last time I sent emails, right? So the account usage between November or December 1st and now, right? The number of responses, which is really cool. I love this because it lets me see my activity and the number of people who have responded as a result of my activity on Qualtrics. All right. So I am going to go back to my projects page. And at this point, I'm going to end this part of the tutorial. And I will return and we'll talk a little bit more about the folders. And we will create our own project. So see you in a few.